wearing a T-shirt that said "I love Mr. Darcy."
Right.
You
We
know,
all do.
Well, we all do. All of us that are writers and lovers of the women's
Right.
fiction over the ages do. But I think a lot. She walks down a lot of street and walks down the street wearing that shirt, and she can tell by kind of who looks at her and goes, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah, that's right."
Who gets it?
Yes.
Who gets the Mr. Darcy thing?
But the second one, I had more of a Sense and Sensibility thing in mind, because both sisters end up looking for love at the same time, and you know, and maybe ending up with people who weren't quite right for them, or you know, rebuilding their lives. So that was my framework in mind for the second one. And again, it didn't, you know, quite follow, but.
And on the, let me ask you about something. I just read Naughty or Nice, and in the dedication, you talk about, you thank the whiners. That's WHINERS, yes. And the Wine Club.
The Wine Sisters.
The Wine Sisters.
Yes.
Who are the Wine Sisters?
Who are the Wine Sisters? Well, I've always been a whiner, I hate to say. My mother would always tell me, "You were the whiniest child ever," and I really pretty much was. And my two friends who were very dear to me, Kathleen Givens and Julia London, both writers. We get together at conferences, and we tend to do a lot of whining together. We'll whine about our problems with glasses of wine, because we're also all wine fans. And it just, you know, it came to us that we'd
So
be
you
the
have
wine
some wine
sisters.
with your wine, or
Exactly. Yeah. I think everybody should whine. You get it out, and then you can move on. I don't think you should, you know, focus on the wine.
And there's actually a website.
Yes, we blog as the Wine Sisters.
The Wine Sisters.
www.winesisters.com.
And they can go, and you blog every day between the three of you?
Well, between the three of us, we kind of, we don't have a set schedule, but, you know, whatever occurs to one of us at the time. We each have various wines at different moments.
Sisters. I'll have
and
to
it's
check
not all
that out.
whining. I mean, we do a lot of celebrity gossip and a lot of snarking.
In between the whining, there's snarking in between the whining.
Yeah, there's a lot of snarking.
I like that.
Yes. We snark more than we should, probably. But
I like
you know, we
that a
really
lot.
don't like to. There's so many blogs. Everybody's got a blog now, and there's so many groups of writers doing blogs, and we were kind of doing it before everybody else. We like to think, but you know, probably not. But there's just the three of us.
I'm actually going to be doing a group blog called the Deadline Dames. We're not up yet. We should be up in a few weeks. The Deadline Dames, nice. And they're all female paranormal writers. Now, I noticed, I was reading your book, and there's a pug.
Yes.
And you own a pug.
I do.
And there's in 3 out of 4 of your books. 3
out of 4, yes.
There's pugs.
Yes. Well,
what's the deal with pugs?
It started with The Scoundrel's Vow. In The Scoundrel's Vow, I wanted a pug. So.
Did you already own a pug?
I did not own a pug at the time.
Okay.
We didn't have any dogs because our kids were little and we didn't get into the dog thing yet. But I was looking at pugs and I really wanted a pug. So pugs were on my mind, and there was a pug character that I added into the book who plays a small role in getting the hero and heroine together. And after that, we got our pug, Drake, named after the hero's best friend, who was a wily cad. In The Scoundrel's Vow, Drake. So Drake was our pug after that. And I didn't have one in Once Wicked. That's the only book without a pug. But I brought pugs back in for Benny's pets in To Hell with Love. And of course, she still has them in Naughty or Nice, so they're still her companions then. We have a corgi also. I think the corgi needs a book, but I haven't gotten around to it
Yes,
yet.
you have to come up with a corgi book, definitely. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to talk about was this new book here. Let me hold this up if we can.
Sure.
Take a look at this, and I'll put it up on the screen in case you don't have to necessarily zoom in right now. The Mammoth Book of Vampire Romance.
Correct.
Okay, what is it with vampires?
You know,
why do we all want to have a romance with a vampire? Why does the idea of somebody who could, potentially drain us and kill us?
Right.
Why is this like the sexiest thing in the world?
I think it's the dark brooding thing again. Women like the dark brooding men for some reason. You know, in reality, I think they're way overrated. But in literature,
vampires in reality are dark brooding men in reality.
Dark brooding men in reality, just overrated. But on paper,
gets old really
we tend
fast.
to like
I agree
them.
with
so,
you.
The Mammoth Book of Vampire Romance is actually the brainchild of Murder One Bookstore in London.
Yes.
The editor is Tricia Tillep, who is
so this was conceived by a bookstore.
Right.
Well, that's fascinating.
So, and Tricia wrote to me and asked me if I would take part after she read To Hell with Love. And, I had to think about it because I don't know. I've never done a vampire. I wasn't sure I really wanted to go there. But It sounded like a lot of fun to try it out, and a great way to try it because it's only like a 25-page.
Yeah, I read your
so
entry, and I got to tell you, it was, you know, it's very, the whole vampire thing was very sexy, and
it was fun.
and I make fun of these because I also write paranormal romances.
Yes, you do, don't you?
And I do not have creatures.
You don't have
I don't do
vampires.
demons, werewolves,
Right.
vampires. I don't do that, but I love a good vampire story. I admit it.
Now, what are you writing right now? You have the Mercy series.
I have the Mercy series, so I've got the first 2 books are out. The most recent one, you see the poster up on the wall, is Angel of Mercy, and then the 3rd book in that series is called Cry Mercy. Mercy Hollings is the main character in that, and that is a paranormal story, but it's very based in reality. Mercy is a hypnotherapist, but she has some paranormal abilities. And the first line of the first book, she says, "I've never been certain I'm human." She doesn't know exactly who or what she is.
I love it.
So the continuing thread through the storylines, through all of the stories, and I'm right now negotiating for 3 more books about Mercy and her world.
That's great.
Is trying to figure out who and what she is and where she came from and why she was abandoned and all those kinds of things. So yeah, but it's kind of paranormal light compared to, for example, Cressley Cole's series, where you've got all those vampires and werewolves and demons and Valkyries and they all interact, and they've got their own little, I couldn't keep track of that many different kinds of creatures, I don't think.
There's a lot of world building going on.
There's an incredible amount of
we're
world
both set
building
more in the
going
real
on.
world.
We're both, yes, yours are set in the real world, and I have to tell you, having just read both Naughty and Nice and then reading today your excerpt from the Mammoth Book of Vampire Romance, I noticed a little theme about shopping.
Shopping. There is a little shopping.
There's a little shopping
on.
And about shopping too much and running up your credit card shopping. And are you a shopaholic?
I'm really not. I think I have wishful thinking. Maybe I wish I were a shopaholic.
You wish you could go out and have to decide between the Christian Louboutin shoes and the Dolce & Gabbana boots.
That would be nice. In my fantasy life, maybe I'm a shopaholic. But in reality, no, I'm not really much of a shopper.
But I did hear about one thing that you're kind of obsessive about. Disney World.
Disney World, yes. Yeah, I
Tell me about this. What is this?
Well, I think the whole historical romance and wanting to write and, you know, fairy tales being one of the first things I've read. I think I've always been caught up in the whole Fantasyland kind of thing. In fact, my sister-in-law has called me the Queen of Fantasyland in the past. I don't think it was complimentary.
Do they know this at Disney? Do they know that you're, because, you know, maybe you could get a lifetime pass if you're the queen.
I think they should let me in and do that, yes. They haven't yet. I've been there quite a few times, though. We honeymooned in Disney World, my husband and I.
Oh, you did?
Actually, he wasn't sold on the idea at the time. I had to convince him because I went when I was 12, and I remember watching the fireworks over Cinderella Castle and thinking, this is just...
This is
it.
Yeah,
this
is
is love.
This is my
me.
life.
Yes.
This is the fireworks. So, it doesn't get much better for that for a little girl than
I told him that
the fireworks
this is where we
over,
were going to honeymoon if it was
over
okay
the
with
castle,
him.
Over Cinderella's
and I think he would have
castle.
preferred Europe or, you know, something, because he grew up in France. He spent a lot of time in France growing up.
You could move to Celebration. Have you been to Celebration?
No, you know, I haven't been there. I think it's just too tempting to think about moving that close.
It's an actual, for people who don't know, Celebration is an actual town that is within the limits of, within the property lines of Disney World.
It used
but it's
to
a
be
town
owned
where
by
you
Disney.
can go. It is still.
I
the
thought
property
they sold
is,
it.
the land is.
Oh, they still own the property, okay.
And you can go buy a house and live in Disney World. It's a little scary because you're walking down the sidewalk and you hear music and you realize the rocks are actually speakers.
Oh, see, they do that in the parks too.
I love
that.
But they do it in the town too. It's a little.
That might be overkill for me. I love it, but if I did it every day, I think it would just.
I looked around when I was there. I used to go there quite a bit myself because I lived in Miami and I used to do a lot of work in Orlando, and I looked around a little bit because I knew people that lived there. And it felt like a movie set, not like a real town. It did.
Going to school and working and everything there, it might be a bit.
Now, now you're back like me. I'm working at home now, so it's very different to work at home. And of course, you're working at home, and you've got teenagers, and and so that's
quite a challenge.
That's an adventure. But what's your writing process like? Do you write every day?
I try to write every day. I don't write every day, especially during the election season. I got really addicted to MSNBC, and it kind of killed my writing time.
I was very.
I really got into
during the election season. I went door to door for my local candidate this year. So